Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. After a time traveler tells him about the future of the planet, Deadpool will need to gather the X-Force to confront Juggernaut and change the fate of the Earth. Today we will recap the story of the 2018 movie, Deadpool 2. In the week of his dating anniversary, Deadpool travels around the world eliminating the criminals of a powerful international organization, until after taking out the entire Asian cartel, Wade returns to the United States to get the last leader of the faction. Despite being alone, when he arrives at the criminals' base of operations, Deadpool makes a real clean sweep of the narcotics lab. Cornered by the chatty mercenary, the leader of the criminals named Sergei Valoshenkov runs into a kind of bunker and just watches from the security cameras while Deadpool eliminates all the men in the lab. After eliminating the last criminal, Wade goes to the entrance of the bunker and asks Sergei to leave, but at that moment, reinforcements arrive and Deadpool is forced to run back to Dopinder's cab. Since he is late for his anniversary, Deadpool asks Dopinder to drive him home where Vanessa is waiting. To celebrate the anniversary, Wade hands his girlfriend an arcade token, a souvenir of their first date, while Vanessa hands over her birth control in a box, signaling that she now wants to have a child. Happy with the idea of becoming parents, the couple begins to discuss what names they will give the baby, and suddenly Wade realizes that there is someone outside and asks Vanessa to hide, which prevents her from being hit by a shotgun blast that the intruders take at the door latch. Just then, those thugs who arrived to help Sergei earlier enter the apartment and start shooting everywhere, but Wade manages to eliminate them one by one with the kitchen knives. After eliminating the criminals, Wade asks Vanessa to stand up and realizes that she has come out completely unscathed, but just as the woman comes out from behind the couch, Sergei appears in the doorway and shoots Deadpool, but misses the target and hits Vanessa right in the heart. Wade jumps out of his apartment window and goes after Sergei, but is run over in the middle of the street, giving the bandit a chance to escape. Luckily, a few meters ahead a pickup truck hits Sergei's car, which instantly stops running. Desperate, the man tries to restart the vehicle, but fails and is picked up by Wade, who hugs him in the middle of the street until they are run over by an ambulance. After Vanessa's end, Wade goes into a deep state of grief and spends his days drinking too much and using harmful substances. After spending 3 full days at the bar, Wade goes to his old house where he meets Al, a blind lady who used to live with him. Feeling guilty about Vanessa's end, Wade lies down on the floor and begins to mourn for everything that has happened, while Al tries to counsel him, but as always, Deadpool ignores everything she says and tries to take his own life in several different ways. After failing by jumping into the bear's cage and blowing himself up along with the apartment, Wade ends up in a kind of purgatory where he meets with Vanessa's soul. Happy to finally see her again, Wade tries to reach out to the girl, but realizes that a sort of invisible wall separates the two. Wanting to touch her one last time, Wade begins to call out to her, but Vanessa says that his heart is not yet in the right place. Not understanding what she means, Wade tries desperately to touch her, but is pulled back to the world of the living within seconds. At that moment, Colossus arrives at the apartment where Deadpool is in pieces and puts the parts in a bag to take him to the X-Mansion. After Deadpool has reconstituted his body, Colossus invites him to become an X-Men and begins to explain the rules of the mansion, but Wade steals Professor Xavier's wheelchair to escape and is easily captured by Colossus. At this point, the boy again grieves over the loss of his girlfriend, but when Colossus tries to comfort him by saying that the X-Men are now his family, Deadpool decides that he will stay at the mansion. At the same time, a young man named Russell arrives at the Essex Orphanage, a kind of institute that tries to cure mutants. There, Russell is welcomed by the local director, a complete madman who thinks that people with the X gene are sick and must be exterminated. After realizing that Russell will not be easy to handle, the director takes all the kids from the institute to watch the boy being electrocuted. After spending days suffering at the hands of this lunatic, Russell gets tired of this situation and begins to use his fire powers against the staff of the institute, causing a real panic in the orphanage. When the police fail to contain Russell, the X-Men are called in to deal with the situation and the Colossus convinces Wade to go with them. As soon as he arrives outside the institute that is supposed to protect mutants, Deadpool suspects something is wrong and begins to approach Russell, but the boy becomes afraid and attacks Ellie, another X-Men, who defends herself using a force field. At this point, Deadpool tries to calm the boy down, but since he remains suspicious, the boy tries to strike him and ends up hitting a fireball right in Colossus' chest, sending him flying into the news van. Realizing that the boy is a threat, Deadpool draws his weapons and tries to surrender Russell, but Colossus asks him to calm down and reminds him that the first rule of the X-Men is never to take a person's life, even if they deserve it. To try to follow the rules for once in his life, Deadpool puts away his guns and slowly approaches Russell, trying to gain his trust, but just as he is getting close, the director leaves the institute walking normally, leaving the boy once again out of control. In a rage, Russell attacks Deadpool, who falls straight into a room on the 3rd floor of the institute. Tired of Russell's instability, Deadpool jumps from the 3rd floor and throws one of his katanas in the boy's direction, hitting him right in the forehead. Now that Russell is unconscious, the cops put a power-neutralizing collar on him, making it impossible for him to use his abilities. With Russell incapacitated, the director of the institute thanks Deadpool for his heroic act and says that from now on his employees will take responsibility for the boy, but Russell begs to be arrested or taken anywhere other than there. Finding this all very strange, Deadpool stops the employees from touching the boy and begins to analyze him, finding marks of aggression he has suffered on his neck. Upon seeing the wounds, Deadpool asks if they did this and Russell confirms. He then gets up and starts making a speech saying that he doesn't want to be the hero forever, ending with a headshot right in the forehead of one of the employees right after. To avoid receiving the shots, the director and the other employees of the institute hide behind a car until the Colossus manages to immobilize Deadpool. Not understanding what is going on, Colossus threatens to take the life of the anti-hero, who explains that he did it because the youngsters are being mistreated, but the X-Men says that they are not judges and therefore cannot condemn anyone. At this point, the cops put a neutralizing collar on Deadpool, who along with Russell is taken to Icebox, one of the largest prisons for mutants in the entire United States. Inside the icebox, Russell says that they should form an alliance with the strongest one in there, and Wade explains that there is a monster underground that would be perfect for that, but that they shouldn't focus on that right now. As his powers are blocked by the necklace, Wade becomes mortal again and begins to waste away because of his illness, becoming more and more debilitated. Even though he is slowly losing his life, Wade must live normally in prison and spends his days with Russell, but after getting involved in a fight with other prisoners and getting beaten up because of the boy, Deadpool gets tired and says he doesn't want to be friends with him, leaving Russell quite hurt. Just then, a mysterious man sees the report about the incident at the Essex Institute and starts assembling some weapons with his futuristic technology. With everything ready, the man invades the prison and, after discovering the cell where Russell and Wade are, starts advancing towards them, defeating all the security guards he finds along the way. Knowing that his weapons will do nothing against the armored cells, the man goes to the prison control room and sets off a bomb that explodes the computers there, opening all the cells and freeing the prisoners. Thinking that the mysterious man is hunting him, Wade asks Russell to move away and flee to another direction, but when he realizes that the man is chasing the boy, Wade decides that he will protect him and starts to fight. Despite wanting to protect the boy, Wade is very weakened and is at a disadvantage because of his illness, but as they fight, the man ends up shooting Deadpool's collar, which begins to fail, slowly giving him back his immortality and regeneration. With Wade seemingly defeated, the mysterious fellow goes to Russell and prepares to take him out, but just as he is ready to shoot, Deadpool gets up and jumps on top of the man, causing them both to fall to the 2nd floor and the collar to come off for good. Thinking Wade has been eliminated, the bizarre cyborg focuses fully on Russell and destroys the floor beneath him, knocking him to the 2nd floor. But as soon as the boy touches the floor, Deadpool fully recovers and begins beating the stranger with an iron bar. Taking advantage of the gap, Wade takes the enemy's gun and puts it on full power, making a shot that throws the man away. Wade then walks up to his opponent and asks him to explain himself, but the guy just says that his name is Cable and that he came from the future. At that moment, the man uses a magnetism device to draw the gun back to him and fires at the ceiling, knocking over a steel structure that nearly falls on Wade. Determined to stop him, Deadpool continues to go after Cable, getting into another intense fight, but despite having his powers back, the mercenary Chatterbox has his arm broken and his thigh punctured, as well as receiving a punch so hard it makes Vanessa's arcade token fly away. After winning the fight, Cable takes the token as a souvenir of the fight, but Wade refuses to lose the object and gets up to try to retrieve it, but receives another punch with no time to react. With Wade almost completely powerless, Cable asks why he is trying to protect Russell, and unaware that the boy is listening, Wade says he doesn't give a damn about him. Disappointed, Russell rushes to turn himself into the security guards and Wade pulls the pin out of one of Cable's grenades, causing an explosion so loud that they are thrown out of the prison. In the snowy mountains outside, the two begin to roll through the snow and Cable manages to hang on to a rock, but Wade is not as lucky and hits his head on a rock, falling completely unconscious into a frozen lake. As soon as he touches water, Wade once again ends up in that purgatory and begs to be allowed in, but when Vanessa doesn't answer him, he starts thinking about what she said last time and finally realizes that Russell is the place where his heart should be. When he realizes this, Wade once again returns to the human world and, after emerging from the freezing water, goes straight to the bar to create a plan to save him. While talking to the Weasel, the bar attendant, the young man learns that the mutants will be transferred to another maximum security prison in a few days. With this information, Wade decides to put together a team to rescue Russell and begins interviewing some people, putting together the team he names X-Force. Now that Wade's team is formed, Weasel leaves the bar and starts walking toward his house when Cable catches up with him to get information. Despite being Wade's friend, Weasel is a coward and tells everything he knows about Russell and the X-Force. In the prison, Russell decides to do what Wade said and steals the pudding from one of the prisoners, causing a big fight in the mess hall. While everyone is distracted by the fight, Russell goes to that monster in the basement mentioned by Deadpool, and delivers his tray of food to it, winning the friendship of said creature. On the day of the transfer, Russell and the other prisoners are put on the transport truck and begin to be taken to the other prison. With the plan in place, Deadpool and the X-Force jump out of the helicopter in order to land on the truck, but due to a strong gale, one by one all of the team members fall to the ground and lose their lives, with the exception of Domino, who with her power of super luck manages to land safely and quietly enter the truck. Inside the vehicle, Domino throws the driver out and takes over driving the truck, but at this point Cable finally appears and also manages to climb into the car. When he is inside, Cable realizes that Deadpool is behind them with a scooter and starts throwing the cabins with the prisoners to try to take him down, but Wade manages to dodge it. At a disadvantage outside, Deadpool tries to jump off his motorcycle and into the truck, but ends up making a mistake and crashing violently to the ground. But luckily for him, as soon as he gets up, he is run over by one of the prison vehicles. On the hood of the car, Wade eliminates the driver and, while using the katana to accelerate the vehicle, uses his other hand to hold the steering wheel. While Deadpool drives the car from the outside, Domino tries to confront Cable from the inside, but is easily defeated. Just as the villain is about to eliminate her, Deadpool finally catches up to the truck and arrives at the last second to save her. The chatty mercenary then asks for his chip back and they begin to fight while Domino gets back behind the wheel. But when she tries to stop the truck, she realizes that the shots have hit the chassis of the vehicle, causing all the brake fluid to leak. While Domino tries to slow the vehicle down somehow, Cable starts shooting at Deadpool, who cuts down the projectiles in midair with his katana, but still gets hit several times. At that moment, Russell manages to open his cabin door with a pen he has hidden in his clothes, and while Cable and Deadpool are fighting, he goes to the monster's cell and frees him. Finally free, the creature, named Juggernaut, comes out of the cell and punches the ground so hard that it opens a crater in the road, causing the truck to overturn. After they fall to the ground, Juggernaut comes out of his cell and walks over to Deadpool, splitting his body in half like a simple candy bar. Without his legs, Deadpool tries to apologize for what he said, but Russell says he doesn't need him anymore and that he will carry on with his revenge with the help of Juggernaut. After this dramatic farewell, Russell leaves while Domino carries Deadpool's remains to the apartment to wait for his legs to regenerate. While they wait, Weasel shows up and tells them that he has been threatened by Cable. At that moment, the villain enters the front door of the apartment, and although everyone thinks he has come to try to eliminate them, the time traveler just asks for help. According to Cable, Russell will eliminate the director of the Essex Institute, and if this happens, he will take a liking to the thing and become a supervillain, until a few years in the future, his adult version will eliminate Cable's wife and daughter. The man also says that he could handle just the boy, but that since Juggernaut is now helping him, he will need all the support he can get to stop Russell. At this point, Wade asks why he didn't go back in the timeline when Wade was younger to solve this easily, but Cable says that his temporal omnitrix is with some limitations and only had 2 charges, but since he used one to come to this time, he only has 1 left to go back to the future. Knowing that if he had the same opportunity as Cable, he would also come back to save Vanessa, Wade agrees to team up with him to deal with the new villains, but since he doesn't want to get his hands dirty with his friend's blood, Deadpool asks Cable for the chance to talk to Russell before eliminating him. Realizing that even the 2 of them together will not be enough to deal with the Juggernaut, Wade asks Dopinder to take them in a cab to the X-Mansion. There, Deadpool apologizes to Colossus for disappointing him and tells him all about Russell and Juggernaut, but the X-Men refuse to help because they are still upset. Deadpool then says that his heart is also in the wrong place and, even with little chance, gets back into the cab with which they proceed to the Essex Institute. When they arrive at the orphanage, Wade sees Cable's scorched teddy bear and asks why he carries that object around all the time, but the man replies that that bear is stained with his daughter's blood. At that moment, Russell and Juggernaut knock on the door of the Institute, and even with Deadpool and the X-Force 2.0 trying to convince him to give up his revenge, Russell blows the door open and furiously walks behind the director. While the boy follows his target around the Institute, Cable, Deadpool and Domino stand outside fighting the Juggernaut. Even with the time traveler's superpowered weapons and the trio's combat skills, there isn't much they can do and both Wade and Cable are easily defeated. Alone against the Juggernaut, Domino hits a grenade launcher shot right in his face, but does almost no damage. While the duo catches up to the Juggernaut, Deadpool finally regains consciousness and realizes that Colossus has changed his mind and decided to come to their aid. Since he is the only one who can stand up to the damn Juggernaut, Colossus runs up to him and lands a straight punch to his helmet. Even though he is extremely strong, Colossus is still weaker than Juggernaut and must resort to dirty tactics to have any chance of winning. While an X-Men confronts Juggernaut, Domino enters the Institute and fights with the nurses to save the miners, but thanks to her super luck, the crazies pretty much eliminate themselves. With the staff out of the way, Domino tries to leave the Institute with the little ones, but since the exits are on fire, they are trapped until, trying to hit Colossus, Juggernaut throws a bus through the window, forming a ramp for them to get off. At the same time, Wade and Cable eliminate the nurses outside and finally get to Russell, but even with Deadpool getting in front of the director, the kid doesn't hesitate and uses his powers to attack them, forcing Cable to use his shield to defend them. When he realizes that Russell is determined to complete his revenge, Cable grabs his gun and prepares to eliminate him, but Deadpool forbids him to do so and says that he still has time. While the duo tries to immobilize Russell, Ellie and Yukio arrive at the Institute and rush to help the Colossus in battle. After Yukio immobilizes the Juggernaut's legs with an energized chain, Colossus sticks a high-voltage wire to his backside and Ellie uses her supersonic powers to throw the Juggernaut into the pool, causing him to be electrocuted. With only Russell left to deal with, Wade relents and once again slowly approaches the boy while trying to convince him not to take anyone's life. Even though he accepts the apology, Russell says he doesn't trust anyone and burns Deadpool's back, throwing him away with his powers. Seeing that he has failed in his mission, Wade puts the neutralizing collar on himself and sets out for the final attempt with Russell, but determined to prevent Deadpool from being his first victim, Cable runs to his gun and uses the last projectile to shoot Russell. At this moment, Wade realizes Cable's intention and jumps in front of the projectile that hits his heart. When he sees that Deadpool has sacrificed himself for him, Russell realizes that he was blinded by anger and regrets everything. Automatically, the bloodstains of the bear that is with Cable completely disappear, signaling that the future has been changed and his family has been saved. Knowing that if he continues with the necklace he will soon lose his life, Colossus tries to remove the object from Deadpool's neck, but Wade refuses, claiming that his goals have been completed and that his heart is now in the right place. In his final moments, Wade says goodbye to the new X-Force, especially to Cable and Russell. After saying goodbye to everyone, Wade goes back to Purgatory and finally manages to catch up with Vanessa after trying for so long, but she says it's not his time yet. On Earth, Cable decides to change the fate of the chattering mercenary and uses the last charge of his watch to go back to the time they arrived at the Essex Institute. Outside the orphanage, Cable takes advantage of the moment Wade asks about the bear and places Vanessa's arcade token right where the projectile will catch. In this way, when Wade jumps to save Russell once again, the shot hits right in the token, which absorbs all the impact. As soon as he sees the object, Wade immediately realizes what Cable has done and says that now he will not be able to go back to the future, but the Traveler says that what matters is that his family is safe, and that he will continue to be here for a while. With everything settled, Russell takes Wade's collar off and together they leave, but as they are leaving the Institute, the director appears and begins to offend them for being mutants, but while he is talking, Dopinder appears and runs him over with his cab, ending the director once and for all. Sometime after all this, Ellie and Yukio manage to restore Cable's watch and deliver it to the worst possible person, Deadpool. With the time travel ability, Wade returns to his apartment in time to put a knife to Sergei's forehead before he hits Vanessa, saving her once and for all. After this, Wade returns to the Wolverine origin movie and eliminates his bizarre version of the past, as well as preventing Ryan Reynolds from agreeing to record the Green Lantern. With this, all the evils of the world were averted and Wade could live his life peacefully, at least until he screwed up once again. So, what did you think of this movie? Let us know in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.